I would like to welcome Professor Vojtěch Svátek in our studio, who's affiliated with the Faculty of Informatics and Statistics at the Prague University of Economics and Business.
Thanks for the invitation, and I'll be happy to share some of my academic experience, and it's a pleasure for me to be invited here.
Professor Svátek serves as the deputy head of the Department of Information and Knowledge Engineering at VŠE, and he's also actively engaged in both teaching and research on a topic of ontologies and ontological thinking, which will be the topic of our podcast today. And Mr. Svátek, my first question is, what are ontologies? If you should explain this topic as someone who hear it for the first time, how will you explain it? What is it about?
Yeah, I will do my best. Actually, we can look at ontologies from different angles. Probably most of us have heard this word at secondary school within the courses of social science or whatever it's called in the context of philosophy. So in philosophy, ontology is, say, the exploration of the nature of being, what is the essence of being, why something exists rather than doesn't exist, and so on. So really deep philosophical topics. On the other hand, even in a philosophical ontology, there are subdisciplines which deal with something, say, more practical, closer to normal thinking of people. That's a kind of categorization of things. What kind of things exist? Like we have things that are living and things that are not living, like a table is non-living, we are living, and so on. We can have things that are material, like both us and the table, and things that are immaterial, like ideas or even this dialogue we have now. There are, for example, things that exist in time, as wholes, and things that develop in time, in the sense that, let's say, I am a thing that exists as a whole here. It's not the case that half of me would be somewhere behind the doors. And why we are talking, I am here as a whole all the time. While the interview the discussion we have now, at a given moment, it's only this moment, this part of this interview that's present here, and it will evolve in time. And this interview is a tiny part of my lifetime or my lifespan, right? So the whole of my life here on Earth is a kind of thing, an event or a process or whatever we call it, and this interview is a small part of it. And these are also things that can be examined by this philosophical ontology, and you see that this is concepts that are not extremely complex at the first sight. So all of us think about events, things that develop in time, and about real physical or immaterial objects that exist in time, and so on. So this is still from the point of philosophical ontology, which we know from these secondary school courses, let's say. But on the other hand, we can also speak about ontologies in the sense of information systems, databases, data modeling, and so on. So let's consider database and information systems, and there we need schemas for data. We need abstract concepts, which we use as classes, or say in many databases we can say these are names of fields or columns, like here is a person, the person's address, the person's occupation, and things like that, right? And that's something we use, at least people in information systems use it on an everyday basis. Even ordinary people use it when, say, filling in forms for taxations or whatever interactions with an information system. So we all know that we have some information or pieces of data that are labeled by some concepts. And what ontology, in the sense as my team is exploring, in somewhere in between this level of data described with concept, classes, fields, attributes, whatever, and the philosophical ontology that tries to categorize things at a higher level, at a very abstract sense. And the ontology, as we have it here as research, really spans between this low and high level of concepts, modeling concepts and dealing with concepts, things, objects. Does it make sense?
Yeah. So you nicely named that ontology is connected both with philosophy and informatics, as you do it with your research. And I would like to know what led you to the topic of ontologies, what you personally like about this field of research, what excites you about it.
So actually, I would say that my journey towards researching ontologies was gradual. And at the beginning, when I started my career as, let's say, at the level of PhD student, I was already performing ontological thinking, but without even knowing that this is ontological, right? So I worked at the beginning of my research career, I worked with databases, data mining, expert systems, rules, and in all this kind of data and knowledge representation, there was the possibility to make some abstractions, to find some grouping, some common notions that overroof different specific terms, different specific pieces of data. And it's probably everybody does that, but I was really inclined towards this kind of thinking. I always try to make abstractions, find what different things have in common, thinking in terms of these concept categories and so on. And then at some point, maybe 30 years ago, I discovered that there is a real community in the world, in research, in computer science, actually as part of artificial intelligence that was to date. And I realized that this is actually my community. And this community helped me to do the same or similar kind of ontological thinking, but in a little bit more rigorous way, not that naive as I did when I was a starting PhD student.
And thanks to this ontological community and ontologies, you are also involved in the international research project, Onto-DESIDE. And could you please explain us a little bit what's the project about and how is it connected with ontologies?
Yeah, so you see from the acronym of the project that it has to do something with ontologies. I will not try to expand the rest of this acronym. It's quite a complex phrase. But it's a project that aims to apply ontologies in the domain of circular economy. So the goal is actually to improve the processes of circular economy through ontological modeling of data that's being exchanged within different stakeholders of circular economy.
So you explain us now that ontologies can be connected with the topic circular economy. So could you please explain us more in detail how these, like for me, as I see it, different topics, different fields can be connected in one project, which is Onto-DESIDE?
Yeah. So ontologies are a kind of technology. It's kind of information technology. And imagine in circular economy or in any kind of economy, there are different stakeholders, suppliers, consumers, manufacturers, and so on, and end users and consumers. And all of these stakeholders have to exchange products, services, and also data going together with these products and services. And every stakeholder may tend to produce their own shapes of data. So the compatibility between the data is not assured. And this is particularly not assured when there is a situation in the market that there is no big hegemony of one partner which imposes their structures to other partners. And it seems that in circular economy, that's typically that there's lots of smaller stakeholders which cannot impose their data structure, data schemes to all others. So typically there is a certain way of modeling the data that's convenient to a particular partner, particular stakeholder, and they do not want to change it at once just because of entering this kind of market. So we have lots of different data sets modeled a little bit differently. Some partners or some partners in this circular economy market have some extra data which they don't want to share or which are not necessarily be shared with others. And in order to bridge between the different schemas, even different names, different terms used, sometimes there are different terms that have the same meaning, sometimes there are same terms that don't have the same meaning. And to bridge all of this, we can use ontologies, because the ontologies, the concept in ontologies represent the shared meaning of certain terms or of certain kinds of data between different stakeholders. So the stakeholders only need to agree on the ontologies and map their data, create some mapping from their individual data sets on this ontology. And as soon as this shared understanding is reached, the data can be exchanged without the individual stakeholders having to change their internal data structures.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you also cooperate in this Onto-DESIDE project with other universities and partners. So could you explain out what is your expertise in this project, of your research team, and what are the roles of the different partners in the project?
Yeah, so I'm really thrilled by the composition of the consortium. I've been to several projects before, but this one is really one of the most interesting in a sense, because there is a different expertise being combined from different fields. First, the coordinator is the University of Linköping in Sweden, and their expertise is actually quite similar to ours. They are experts in ontology engineering, among other, but with slightly different flavors. So we can nicely collaborate with them, let's say directly even writing research papers together as regards ontology engineering, but there's still some complementarity, which I can also mention later. But there is also another partner, the University of Ghent from Belgium, whose expertise is more in distributed data management and data privacy handling, which is something also quite important. I can compare it as the ontologies are to provide a shared understanding of data, so the partners want to share the data. Why in the decentralized web, there is also focus on what is not to be revealed to other partners, so keeping data, some part of data private and having flexible mechanisms for that in order for the partner to really, even within one data set, to share only a certain part of the data and keep the rest as private, or sharing different parts of data with the different partners selectively. So that's another. So altogether, us and Linköping and Ghent are three academic partners who are really in computing, information systems, information technology. But we also have another partner, the University of Hamburg from Germany, who are from social science. So they are really exploring circular economy as a societal topic, as psychological aspects of it. For example, but it's actually related to this notion of privacy, because among other, they investigate how trust works in these networks, how trust is established, how difficult it is for one partner sharing the data in terms of trusting the people from the other partner. And also this University of Hamburg explores the circular economy as a whole, those different liaisons between different parts of the processes. There are material network, material is flowing from one part to another, products are going from one partner to another, energy is used in different ways among different partners, and the financial and non-financial value is flowing within this network and this producer-consumer supplier chain and so on. So we are really complementary in their expertise, and this is only for the academic part of the project. But there are also industrial and non-governmental partners, and it's an even more addition in this practical side of the project, leading towards the future application of the technology, not just staying at the level of research and scientific papers, but something that in the future could bring tangible benefits.
Okay, and to the practical part of the project, I assume you also settled some goals for the project, and I would like to know what are the goals for your research team with the knowledge of ontologies on your expertise, and maybe what are the goals connected also with the companies. Mm-hmm. So how you see it with the practical applying of the results?
Yeah, so I'll probably start with the second part of the question, because it's worth mentioning that there are altogether about 8 industrial partners in the project, and they are kind of divided between 3 different industries where circular economy is quite sensible. One is the building industry, the second is the clothing industry, and the third is electronics. So far, I've seen most of the building industry. We also visited one of the factories where they fabricated some building components like floor tiles, ceiling elements, which are assumed to be reused. So imagine that the building, when it's at the end of its durability, it's not just destroyed, but as much as possible is being reused in other buildings. And that's something not just decided at the moment of the demolition, but it's something that's been planned from the very beginning. When these tiles are being manufactured, they carry on some digital product passport, which allows to know what is really their composition, what is the time of their manufacturing, what is their durability, and so on. So they can be reused for another building even after many years, and the information system really keeps track on of all these components so that they can be safely used. Their value, the decrease of the value is being monitored, and so on. And it works even to the degree that somebody can just hire say floor tiles for their building when it's being built. So the owner doesn't own the building as a whole, but only hires some parts, and then that subject returns that hired part of the building to the degree of really small components like floor tiles to the original manufacturer or to the company that takes care of this circular economy. So you can imagine that all this constitutes a very complex set of contractor relationships and a very complex set of flows of different components, materials, energy needed for that, transportation, and so on. And all of that can be covered by ontologies. And as already mentioned, even if different partners use their different information systems and different structures, they understand each other when sharing the data. So this was for the vision of the project in general, and I hope that this vision will materialize, maybe not within the lifespan of the project, but hopefully some years afterwards, also considering that circular economy and all these material energy savings are strongly supported by governments. So I think there is quite favorable conditions for this vision to become true in the future. I haven't yet talked about the specific topic of our team. So our team, also in collaboration with the partners from Linköping, tries to go even a little bit farther from beyond that original vision of shared ontologies, because the original vision is that the partners agree on one ontology and then they can share data. But sometimes it's even difficult to agree on one ontology because the different partners can have their national regulations, some local conditions, and so on. And they might even adhere to some specific ontology, whether local or of some sub-industry and so on. So there you can have even multiple ontologies within the same system which map or which describe the same kind of concept things, but they are a little bit dissimilar. Some concepts are missing in one or the other. The structure might be a little bit different. So there we need to bridge not just between the data sets of the different partners, but even between the different ontologies. So one of the techniques we apply in collaboration with partners from Sweden is to make an alignment between concepts within multiple ontologies. like if there is the notion of product in one ontology and the notion of, let's say, again, product, or even called differently in another ontology, we have to find out whether these concepts have the same meaning. So ontology mapping or alignment, that's one of the topics where, in particular, my colleague Ondřej Zamazal, who is the principal investigator of this project, I'm just helping him. Right? He has expertise in that and is doing that for about 20 years now. So this was also one of the selling points of our partnership when we joined the consortium. So we had this long-term expertise in this particular technology, even if completely outside circular economy. And the other topic on which we are working together, mainly myself and Ondřej and our students, is ontology transformation, which is similar to ontology alignment, but we have an ontology to which these data maps, and we have to change the structure of the ontology, which allows for the data also to change the shape. And this is not really, or not necessarily for bridging the gap between different partners, but it's rather needed to adapt the data for a certain software or information system application. Like, imagine that the structure of the data may be very complex. And when you want to display it to a manager or to some end user, it would be a very complex graph to be really, the screen of the computer would be really cluttered with lots of nodes. And it's necessary to decrease the amount of nodes to create some shortcut links, let's say, and remove some of the nodes. And all of this cannot be safely governed just by this final visualization application, because the application wouldn't know what is important, what is to be shown to the manager, and what can safely disappear. But we want to handle that at the level of ontology. So we create a transform version of the ontology, which contains fewer concepts, fewer links, and if we display the data according to this simple ontology, the result will be, say, a nice, understandable visualization of what is in data, even for, say, an executive person.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So these are the expected results, yeah. And as you talk about it, it sounds to me that this project is a lot about cooperation. And my last question is, what you see from the position of a researcher, what is the benefit for researchers and companies and other universities to be involved in these type of international projects?
Yeah, so the benefits are really manifold, right? We gain a lot of experience also with project management, with, say, it's very important, although it's not the most exciting part, but we gain a lot of management experience in managing teams, in collaboration, when having, even running calls and writing papers together with other partners. But the joint research is actually the most interesting thing, because even if we work in the same field, even if we know one another from conferences presenting each their own work, when we are to really closely collaborate and write papers together and say harmonize our ideas, which are never 100% equal, right? So this is really where say some invention or innovation begins, right? Because you have to go out of your beaten tracks and always learn new things at every age. But actually, even if it's very important and very fruitful for me or for my senior colleagues, I think the most important benefit is for the PhD students, because for them it's often the first big research project, and it's much better to get feedback and learn from many international experts than just being supervised and advised by local people they've known for many years. So this probably the benefit for young researchers and PhD students is, for me, perhaps the most important advantage of joining this kind of project.
So, Professor Svátek, thank you for coming to the studio and explaining us what ontologies are about, and also explaining us what is the Onto-DESIDE project about. And I would like to be very delighted to meet you again in our studio and discuss another research of your team.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for inviting me. And if there is some relevant opportunity, I'd be happy to join you again.
Mm-hmm. So thank you also to our viewers, and let's meet us again in another episode.